Imagine looking up at the night sky and realizing everything you've been taught about it is a carefully constructed illusion. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are unpacking a truly fascinating set of source materials that offer a complete paradigm shift on one of the most talked about subjects of our time, UAPs, or unidentified anomalous phenomena. We're taking a massive deep dive into a framework that literally rewrites the very architecture of our reality. The central premise we're exploring today is that the modern aliens people are seeing aren't visitors from distant stars at all. Actually, according to these texts, they are ancient, spiritual entities operating entirely within an enclosed creation. It's a bold, comprehensive narrative that completely reshapes everything we think we know about the sky above us. To unravel all of this, the texts take us through a complete cosmological transformation. We'll be exploring the modern alien illusion, the enclosed planet Earth, the watchers of spiritual fire, the technological costume, and finally, a return to the days of Noah. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the modern alien illusion, subtitled The Great Unsolved Mystery. Our modern culture is absolutely obsessed with unidentified flying objects, glowing orbs, and government disclosure. But the source material poses a pivotal question that kind of flips the whole script. Are UAPs visitors from distant stars, or something much, much older? According to these ancient texts, humanity is staring into the void, looking in the completely wrong direction. The sources present us with a stark contrast between two wildly different realities. On one hand, the secular space model presents an infinite void filled with distant suns and independently evolved alien biology. But contrast that with the biblical cosmology model. This framework describes an enclosed planar Earth, a bounded firmament, and a meticulously created spiritual hierarchy. The texts we are examining impartially argue that the secular model is actually an intentional deception, designed specifically to hide the true, bounded nature of creation from all of us. This fundamental clash leads us nicely into Section 2, the enclosed planar Earth, and its true cosmological boundaries. Okay, so to understand where these anomalous entities actually reside, the ancient texts require us to grasp some very specific physical architecture. Imagine a giant terrarium. The firmament is described as a physical, tent-like boundary totally enclosing the planar Earth. The sources emphasize that in this framework, there is absolutely no infinite outer space, only the waters above, and the atmospheric realm directly over our heads. This enclosed system serves as the operational domain, the absolute boundary for spiritual principalities. Basically, they are locked inside with us. The text draws heavily on ancient scriptures to build this case. Consider this quote from Isaiah 40:22. "It is God that sitteth upon this circle of the earth, that stretcheth out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in." The authors point out that this is not just poetic language, it strictly forbids the concept of an infinite, expanding universe, establishing instead a closed system, a literal, physical tent. So what does this all mean? Well, according to the source material, the entire extraterrestrial narrative is a constructed lie. Within this biblical framework, teaching humanity that we are just a random biological accident floating among distant stars is deliberate psychological conditioning. I mean, think about the psychological impact of feeling like a random speck of dust in a cold, dead universe, versus realizing you're right at the center of a meticulously crafted, enclosed home. The narrative is designed to make humanity feel insignificant and to deny the sovereignty of a creator. Which brings us to Section 3, Watchers of Spiritual Fire, and the true nature of the visitors. If these aren't biological beings from distant solar systems, who or what is actually piloting these lights? The texts point directly to Psalm 104:4, who make it his angels spirits, his ministers of flaming fire. The sources explain that angelic beings are not flesh and blood. Think of it less like a biological organism in a spaceship and more like, well, conscious, intelligent plasma. What our modern eyes might interpret as strange electromagnetic anomalies, the ancient texts describe as literal spirits of flaming fire. Following this chronological narrative, we see a massive, epic story unfold. Back in antiquity, during the events described in Genesis 6, a specific class of angels, known as the Watchers, descended upon Mount Hermon in a coordinated rebellion. They engaged in an illicit mixing with humanity. Then came the deluge, where God judged this transgression and wiped out their hybrid offspring, the physical giants known as the Nephilim. But in the post-flood era, the disembodied spirits of those Nephilim were permitted to roam the planar Earth. And that brings us to the modern age, where this ancient program just continues right on through interdimensional and atmospheric activity. So how exactly do they operate today? The sources lay out their domain very clearly. These spirits can compress themselves from luminous energy into physical forms. They operate as principalities of the power of the air, meaning they are essentially the wardens or masters of the atmospheric layer right above the planet Earth. They are confined entirely within the firmament. They literally cannot leave. And most importantly, from a theological perspective, they are completely incapable of offering human redemption. Their seemingly impossible physics, darting across the sky at incredible speeds, stopping on a dime, are simply the natural movements of spiritual beings unconstrained by physical mass.
Moving on to Section 4, the technological costume, also known as the metaschematizo deception. Here is where the source material introduces a totally crucial concept. How does an ancient spirit of fire trick a modern military pilot into seeing a metallic UFO? The answer is meta-ischematizo. It's a Greek term meaning to change outward fashion or appearance. It's the ultimate cosmic camouflage. Like a wolf donning sheep's clothing, the core predator remains entirely the same, but the presentation changes to whatever will be most effective. The great deceiver weaponizes his native element of light to project whatever image serves his purpose. These entities are incredibly adaptable. They tailor their costume across eras to exploit the cultural expectations of that specific time. In the ancient world, cultures expected a divine pantheon, so the entities manifested as sun gods and sky messengers. In the Middle Ages, viewed through the lens of spiritual warfare, they appeared as demons and apparitions. Today, in our modern era of scientific materialism, they perfectly disguise themselves as technological craft and glowing orbs. The underlying entity never changes. Only the camouflage does. So why go through this elaborate centuries-long masquerade? The sources outlined very specific strategic goals behind this modern extraterrestrial disguise. First, it conditions humanity to feel small and insignificant in a fake infinite void. It prepares the world to accept the authority of non-human intelligences. It offers an alternative cosmic origin story, bypassing the creator entirely. And lastly, it counterfeits the gospel with a false promise of cosmic brotherhood and advanced evolutionary enlightenment. The sources really drive this point home. The luminous orbs caught on military cameras are not physical craft from other galaxies. They are corrupted spiritual light. They are dark mirrors of divine glory, ancient rebellious entities momentarily crossing into the visible spectrum of our enclosed planar Earth to put on a show. This perfectly explains why state-of-the-art military sensors capture these objects exhibiting erratic heat signatures, moving at thousands of miles an hour without wings, rotors, or any physical exhaust whatsoever. There is no engine, guys. There is only spirit. Which brings us to our final section, Return to the Days of Noah, focusing on the prophetic climax. The source material connects the ongoing UAP disclosure movement directly to biblical eschatology, the study of the end times. They point to Matthew 24:37. As the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. The sources stress that the days of Noah weren't just about a massive flood. They were uniquely defined by the open, illicit presence of fallen entities blending with humanity. The texts argue we are seeing the beginning of that exact cycle repeating today. Therefore, the ongoing government hearings on UAPs and the slow drip of information are not taking us towards some shiny sci-fi future. According to this framework, the slow drip of disclosure isn't a scientific awakening at all, but a spiritual one. It's a deliberate thinning of the veil between the seen and unseen realms. It is unsealing the final, prophetically significant deception, preparing the global population for ultimate open contact with these ancient principalities. So how do the ancient texts say humanity should respond? By testing the spirits. The sources impartially outline these specific criteria for discernment. Do these entities demand worship or human allegiance? Do they deny the singular biological architecture of humanity, maybe even claiming to be our true creators? Do they deny the sovereignty of the creator? And do they offer advanced technological knowledge as a substitute for true spiritual redemption? The texts insist that absolutely every non-human encounter must be rigorously tested against these fundamental questions. We've covered a massive paradigm shift today, entirely reshaping how we view the cosmos, the planar Earth, and the anomalous lights above us. I really want to leave you with this final, provocative thought drawn from the source material. If the final invasion isn't coming from the stars, but from the firmament right above our heads, are we prepared for the true nature of the lights in the sky? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep asking the big questions.